Ahmed, thank you so much for your time. I'm wondering why these two taxi groups are at such an intractable point. We know that often there's fights over routes and who dominates various routes. Do you have an understanding as to why these two groups are so incredibly deadlocked?
Thank you, Sally. Thank you for having me, and good evening to the listeners, to the viewers. Sally, these two associations call themselves mother bodies. So they are regions of the South African National Taxi Council, but having given themselves the right to go and affiliate associations in other geographic regions throughout the province. Now, therein lies the problem that they very often go into an area and recruit illegal operators, form an association, and then start to muscle out legal operators on a particular route. Now, there's a very deep history to this particular route that's currently under contention. That's the route between Bekwene and Bellville. But the same game plan is playing itself out in many other areas throughout the province, Ceres, Saldanha. And in all of these conflicts, the same two groups, CATA and CODETA, as mother bodies, are the two parties involved in the conflict. So it is a problem that we are addressing also with the South African National Taxi Council in terms of their constitution, but also a matter that we do want to take to court, to the courts, to assist the minibus taxi industry in resolving this constitutional issue that has been plaguing the minibus industry in the Western Cape.
So are you hoping that by closing that route, they will lose income and it will create pain in the pocket and force them to make a compromise? Is that the plan?
Sorry, no. The plan, of course, firstly is to ensure that the safety of commuters and citizens is placed at the top of our agenda. It always has been at the top of our agenda. Now, when you find that a minibus taxi full of passengers can be shot at by one party because it happens to be a minibus taxi driven by a rival grouping, then we have got a serious problem. When we as government create a platform and a space within which these two groups can sit and come to some sort of agreement, and over 2 weeks they cannot come to an agreement, then extraordinary measures have to be taken. And that's exactly the point where we are at now. We have to take these extraordinary measures to ensure that commuters are protected firstly. There are contingency plans that have been put in place to ensure that commuters can travel safely to work. The Army and the police, we've been in contact with the Army and the police commissioner and his team have been excellent in terms of cooperation with the Western Cape government. They have put in place their deployment plans to protect commuters at the ranks and along the routes that will now be closed to these particular minibus taxi associations and operators. We've given them every possible opportunity to find a solution amongst themselves. They've not taken the opportunity. These extraordinary measures are not taken lightly by the Western Cape government, by our MEC, Mitchell. And
I mean, I watched that press conference and I could see the frustration from the MEC and also from the Transport Minister, and it seems like it's been a really tricky one. Any idea of how long you might need to keep the route closed?
Well, we have published a government gazette this afternoon in which the MEC has made known his intention to keep the ranks and routes closed for 2 months. However, we are still hopeful, and we will continue to create the opportunity for these two mother bodies to come together to find some solution amongst themselves. Our officials from the Department of Transport in the Western Cape were on hand and will continue to be on hand to regularize and legalize any agreement that they come to amongst themselves. Ultimately, though, the rule of law must apply to everyone, and we cannot have a situation where thugs that have taken over the minibus taxi industry in the Western Cape hold our communities and our citizens hostage.
Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. That was Chief Director for Transport in the Western Cape, Yasir Ahmed, talking about the 2-month closure of that Bekwene-Paarl-Bellville route over the taxi wars there.